Well, I would like to, let's see, let's take this off my screen and we'll be officially started. We're going to do the lazy slide here today instead of putting it into full slide mode. But I do want to take a moment and I want to thank everybody who's here this morning. It's a smaller crowd. I'm not sure if it's because it's Friday or the topics, but at the end we're going to give you a link. And if you would go to that link and please tell us your thoughts, not only on the panelists today, but certainly where you think we can improve, whether it's a day or a time thing, that would be helpful as well. But what are we doing? We're talking about Real Office Assistant, the Educational and Coaching Center. And our topics today are focused on a category that we call daily practices, and then mobile apps are a little more self-descriptive. But I really, having known both of the people presenting today, you are going to be absolutely thrilled that you are here. Now, Real Office Assistant is an intranet service. I think that's this next slide. And it's either used in your company now, those who are attending, or you had used it at some point in the past. And that's how you know about the sessions that are going on today. These are currently exclusive to the realtors whose company uses Real Office Assistant as an intranet in their company. So we're appreciative on every front. And this is what Real Office Assistant looks like. So if in your office this is not what your company intranet looks like, please, on the little survey thing at the end, on the link we give you, tell me, because we'd like to make sure we get you updated. Now, the other thing is, you'll notice that there's this header up here on top. I'll highlight it for you. We'll draw this little thing around it right there, right? And this is how we will communicate to you. You'll have, as an example, today's session is being recorded. When it's available, you'll see an announcement in that header. So you'll see announcements for the upcoming webinars. So we ask you to pay attention. You can click there to register. And again, we truly do appreciate your time. So with that in mind, we want to be timely. We don't want to take more of your time than what we have. So our panelist today, Candy Miles-Crocker, she is the owner of a company called Real Life Real Estate Training. She's also a practicing realtor, right? So she's, feet on the street, as we might say. She actually, where the rubber meets the road. There's a lot of practical knowledge here. And you can see her contact information in front of you. And we'll also show you at the end on the Real Office Assistant Educational and Coaching Center website how you can get everybody's contact information. Our second speaker today will be Amy Smythe-Harris. She is of Amy Out Loud, and she's just a phenomenal speaker on the whole topic of mobile applications for realtors. And so without further ado, let's go ahead. We're going to jump into the topics. The way the agenda will work today is daily practices, or Candy, she's going first, then mobile apps. Please feel free to send your questions in at any time, right? They come on my screen and we'll either answer them in stream or I'll get back to you and let you know, hey, I have the question, but we'll answer it at the end. But definitely a bit of a Q&A at the end. I'll go ahead and wrap things up and we'll be done. With any luck, we'll be out of here in a little over 40 minutes. We take about 20 minutes per topic, so we're going to go quick. And so I will pass control over to you, Candy.
Great. All right. Well, thank you so much, Bill, for that introduction. I truly appreciate it. Thank you for joining us as we go through this first webinar for the first buyer meeting. The first meeting you have with your buyer or prospective buyer is, in my opinion, the most critical of anything you do throughout the entire transaction. So if it's so critical, why is it that so many of you skip it and go right to showing property? And you wonder why your transactions are filled with issues. It's like being on a hamster wheel. The cycle just keeps going and going and going with no way off, and you don't know, how to get off. So if you're tired of working with difficult clients and having difficult transactions and want to start the transaction off on the right foot, you're in the right place. I want to help you get off that hamster wheel. As a real estate agent, we have a lot of different people and a lot of different personalities to get through a transaction. We are the contact point for our buyers, the listing agent, the lender, the home inspector, the appraiser, settlement attorneys. Lots of people are depending on us. The primary players are you and the buyer. So it is your responsibility to effectively communicate with all of those parties, especially the buyers, so they know what to expect during the transaction and what is expected of them. And that's why we're here today. In the first buyer meeting series of webinars, I will show you how to manage the transaction and your client from the very beginning of the relationship. I will outline what you need to discuss to set the tone of the transaction. When I finish this first buyer meeting webinar series, I want you to know 4 things: how to communicate with your client, who you want to work with, because you don't want to work with everybody, a format for how you conduct your first buyer meetings, and how to manage expectations. But first, please allow me to give you a little bit of my background. I'm a native Californian, born and raised in Southern California, Pasadena to be exact.
I don't know who else is here from SoCal, but I'll give that a cheer.
I received my Bachelor of Science in Business Administration from the University of Southern California. So yes, I'm a Trojan, a diehard Trojan. I've been a negotiator for close to 30 years. I'm one of those rare people who have loved every single job I've ever had. Before real estate, I negotiated airtime for both radio and television at 2 top advertising agencies in the country. And from there, I worked for WTOP for 2 years, and then I was named National Sales Manager at WHUR FM here in Washington. And both of those radio stations are still very highly regarded here. But because I wanted to stop traveling so much and spend more time with my 3 children, I decided to enter the wonderful world of real estate. And I was blessed to join a great brokerage where the manager was extremely smart, so I was able to learn a great deal. After just a few short years, I was asked to manage an office, which I did for about 6 years before coming to my senses and getting back to my love, which is selling full-time. I am currently the training director for our offices, and as a trainer, I noticed that agents just weren't coming into the office as frequently with, as Amy will get to later, with all the mobile applications they can use. They just didn't feel the need to come into the office. And so that's why I created the Real Life Real Estate Training Program, because even though they have all these wonderful devices to work from their home and from their car, you need to know what to do before you get out there and try to do it. So as a real estate trainer, I believe I bring a totally different perspective to the real estate training industry. As Bill noted earlier, unlike most real estate trainers, I'm an active realtor with a thriving real estate business. So I practice what I preach, so I know my systems work. And I also know what challenges you are facing in the market and with clients, because I'm usually facing those same challenges. I don't rely on secondhand information. I'm living the market every day just like you. So that's how I became a realtor and a real estate agent trainer. I love training agents, and I want every buyer and seller to have an outstanding experience when they work with me or one of the many agents I've had the pleasure of training. So now let's get to the meat of this entire webinar. If you're like me, sometimes you are just so happy at the prospect of getting a new client that you forget to follow your own system. Take this scenario, for instance. You get a floor call from someone who wants to look at 517 Florida Lane today. You have the time this afternoon, so you agree to meet them at the property. You may have asked if they were pre-approved or working with another agent, but that was probably about it. Again, you're excited because you get a client. But all is good because they like the property well enough to make an offer, and their offer is accepted, and things go downhill from there. By the end of the transaction, you never want to see that person again, and chances are they don't want to see you either. You found this client to be a nag and difficult to reach and an overall pain. So if this scenario or something like it hasn't happened to you, all I can say is congratulations. You are one of the favored few. I've done it, and almost every time I regret not having that first buyer meeting. Yes, we may get the settlement, but it's painful. I would see their number come up on my cell phone and let out a huge sigh. Sometimes I would answer it, and other times I wouldn't. And that's no way to work. But I know from experience that many agents relive this type of client over and over and over again. Like I said, it's like that hamster wheel. Never taking the time to analyze why they always seem to get the most difficult clients. It's always someone else's fault. But difficult transactions usually occur because we as real estate agents do not manage the expectations of our clients from the beginning of the relationship. This is why it's so important to have that first buyer meeting. I don't care if it's a referral, a stranger, or your mother. You need to have that first meeting so you can tell them 3 things: the home buying process, what's expected of them, and how you work. You may have some clients who will tell you they know the process because they bought other houses. Just simply tell them it's your standard of practice to have this meeting. Plus, if they haven't bought a house within the past year, things have changed that they may not be aware of. They may try to weasel out of it, but don't let them. Your goal is to have this meeting with every single client. It will change your life. Will there be exceptions? Of course, but you want those to be exceptions, not the rule. We know that buying a house is a process with many steps, yet we fail to tell our clients that it is a process, or we make the assumption that they know this. Why? I think there are a few reasons. One, as I mentioned earlier, we are just excited to have a client that we just jump right into showing property. Another reason is perhaps we have relied on the internet, or worse, reality TV, to educate our clients. Or lastly, we just don't know what to do at that first meeting, how to set the tone of that relationship. But another very good reason to have this meeting is because it will help you and the prospective client decide if you want to work together. All clients are not created equal. You need to determine if you will be a good fit. You can look at your first buyer meeting like a first date. You need to kind of get to know each other and see if you want to have a second date. This can save you a lot of time and aggravation down the road. Trust me on that. Remember, the first buyer meeting is all about managing expectations. And you start this process by telling them what to expect at the meeting when you make the appointment. Let them know what the meeting's going to be about, how long it will last, where it will take place, where they can park or if public transportation is accessible. All parties involved in the transaction should be present, and I'll get back to that a little bit later. And let them know that you may not be seeing houses that day. Now, that last point is, it varies, because if the prospective buyer has not been pre-approved, let them know before the meeting that you will not be taking them out to see houses after the meeting. They need to know this up front because the usual assumption is that they will be looking at houses because they're excited. Remember, it's all about managing expectations every step of the way. I ask that all parties involved in the transaction attend, if possible, because I don't like to be blindsided when it comes time to make an offer or a decision on a property. Then all of a sudden, Aunt Sally has to see it, or Grandpa Joe, who's given $200,000 to buy a house, has to approve it. I want everybody there so we're all on the same page. Once you're at the meeting, you'll have lots of subtopics within the 3 general topics I mentioned earlier. How you cover those topics is up to you. The important thing is that you cover everything. My style is more conversational, so while it may appear that I'm making idle chit-chat, which is important, I'm actually getting much needed information from the prospective client. But the idle chit-chat gives me a chance to ease their tension and their anxiety and to get to know what they are about and to learn what they want and when they want it. People buy people first, so it's important that you try to establish some sort of rapport, a connection, if you will, with that party. Don't get me wrong, it's important for people to like you, but it's very important that you know what you're talking about too. You probably want to start off by thanking them for taking the time to meet you and giving you an opportunity to present yourself and your brokerage and to explain the home buying process, how you work, and what they need to do. But before I get into the details of all of that, I like to ask why they're looking to make a purchase at this time. This helps me determine their motivation, and I need to know how serious they are about making a purchase. Their motivation could be any number of things. It could be life changes, such as a marriage or divorce, children, a new job, any of those types of things. That's a life change. Or they're renting and their lease is up, so they need to move into a new place. Or they're moving up. They may be moving from a condo to a single-family home. And if that is the case, don't forget to ask if they need an agent to sell their current home. Never miss an opportunity to ask for business, which I know a lot of agents do. Opportunity meaning you ask when appropriate, not at some random time. So when you're asking your questions, you want to be sure to ask open-ended questions. That allows them to do the majority of the talking in the beginning. And when they're talking, you need to listen. Really listen, not thinking about what you're going to say next, but listen to their answers so you can respond later on. This is sometimes difficult for real estate agents because generally speaking, we are a talkative bunch. But really listen to what they're saying because you'll be able to use that again throughout your presentation and the transaction. When there is a break in the conversation, this is your cue to start talking about the 12 steps to the home buying process. Now you can understand why this one topic is a webinar series and not just today's event. Step 1 is finances, not to be confused with financing. For some reason, unbeknownst to me, many real estate agents are reluctant to talk about finances. They feel it's too personal and that it's the lender's job to do that. Wrong, wrong, wrong. It's part of our job as well. We need to know if they have enough money to make a purchase. I'd rather bring it up now than wait until they found a house they love, only to find out they aren't in a position to make a purchase. We may have been looking for 3 months for nothing, and I've wasted a lot of time, energy, and gas when I could have determined within the first 45-minute meeting whether or not they're ready to buy. Does that make sense? Because I don't want to make assumptions about anyone's financial situation. I like to ask if they will be financing their home or if they're paying cash. Now this gets a big laugh out of most people, but I think it's important to ask even though most people who are paying cash will let you know up front. I found that your average buyer has a general idea as to how much house they can afford. But if you meet with someone who doesn't, ask them how much they currently pay in rent. This will give them a good give you a good benchmark to work from. If they're currently paying about $800 a month in rent, a mortgage of $2,000 will probably be a stretch. Use your mortgage charts or your financial calculator to determine an $800 a month price point given the current interest rates. You can then move up from there. Let them know what $1,000 a month sales price looks like, and so on. Big numbers I've found tend to scare people. So simply break them down to manageable numbers like $1,200 a month. It sounds a lot better than buying a house for $300,000 if they're not used to working with big numbers. Also ask them how much money they wanted to use as a down payment. If they're getting FHA financing, the minimum amount is 3.5%. Let them know that this is $10,500. As I mentioned earlier, some agents have a difficult time asking people about finances. If you're one of those agents, try delivering the amount of money they need by looking at your calculator and not their eyes, and that gives them a little space to think. And you're not in their private space as much. However you do it, you just need to do it. This is also a good time to ask if they're going to be receiving a gift from anyone for any portion of the purchase. If they are receiving a gift, ask if the person giving the gift has to see the property before they make an offer. You'll find it much easier to ask all these types of questions when they aren't important and people aren't rushed and stressed, which they will be when it comes time to write an offer because then everything is accelerated. So while you're talking about money, this is the perfect time to go over the closing costs. It's easy for buyers to forget about closing costs because they are so focused on the down payment. But depending on the type of financing they are looking to obtain, the closing costs can be more than the down payment. You need to be able to tell them what fees they will be paying as part of their closing costs. Of course, one of the most expensive will be their title insurance. Then there are their lender's fees, their state and local taxes, title company fees, and all the miscellaneous fees, floods, certification, condo fees, administration fees, all that kind of stuff. Some buyers will need a detailed breakdown of the closing costs, while others are good with a general overview. Either way, you need to know what that number looks like. I like to give my buyers a real number instead of a percentage when discussing closing costs because I need them to realize just how much money they need to buy in this house. For example, if the closing costs in your jurisdiction are about 6% of the sales price, that 6% may sound pretty reasonable. But if you take it a step further and tell the buyer, since you are looking in the $300,000 price range, your closing costs will be approximately $18,000. Now, $18,000 sounds a lot different than 6%. 6% sounds doable. $18,000 sounds like a lot of money. Remind them that this is only for their closing costs. They will also need the additional 3.5% if we continue with our FHA example for the down payment. That comes to a total of $28,500 to purchase a house with a sales price of $300,000. Now comes the hardest question for most agents to ask. Again, you can phrase it however you like, but you have to ask. Do you have this amount available right now? Or is this the amount you're expecting to invest in your new home? These questions allow the prospective buyers to think about how much money they have in the bank or investments or retirement accounts that can be used to purchase their new home. If they don't have enough available cash to cover both their down payment and closing costs, you will need to discuss exactly how much they have and if now is the best time for them to be buying a house. This can be a little difficult to say simply because you don't want to crush their dreams, but you also don't want to give them false hope. They may decide that they need to wait a little longer and save a little more money so they'll have enough money to cover everything and have some money left in reserves, which many lenders require. And you don't want them to be house poor anyway. What I hear a lot of times when buyers don't have all the cash needed to make a purchase is that they will assume that the seller will contribute a part of that, if not all of their closing costs. Of course, this is an unfair assumption, and we need to let them know that this is not always the case. Plus, the amount of seller contribution allowed varies from lender to lender and is based on the type of loan they select. It is not a given in that they may receive any seller contribution, and buyers need to be prepared for the worst case scenario. Prepared meaning money in the bank. So now that you have this information, what are you going to do with it? Can you see just how from this first webinar on the buyer meeting is so critical? Simply by discussing this one topic at your next buyer meeting can help you save precious time and aggravation. Give it a try and let me know how it works for you and your prospective buyer. You have absolutely nothing to lose and everything to gain. In our next session, I will discuss step 2 of the buyer meeting, which is financing, and why you need to know about the different loan programs available in your jurisdiction. But if you have any questions or need additional information, please feel free to give me send me an email or give me a call. Visit my website, and I'll be more than happy to answer any questions you have. Back to you, Bill.
Candy, that was absolutely awesome. I appreciate that. And the fact that you've preset it up. I remember, again, I'm going back to when we had our webinar on search engine optimization and how that relates to social networking. You know, it's a long topic, and I really appreciate that yours is broken up. I just kind of throwing that out there. Amy, I'm going to hand control over to you. So everybody, the second portion of our session today is mobile apps. And again, if you have any questions at all, please go ahead and send them to me. You have on your screen on the right-hand side, there's a little panel. Sometimes it'll close itself automatically. If it has, there's a little arrow up at the top right, a little orange arrow that'll open it and close it. But please be sure to send any questions you have at any time. And I think with that, I will send this over to Amy. You are live. Amy, you there?
There we go. I've just unmuted, so go ahead.
Got it.
Go ahead
Okay.
and show my Perfect. Sometimes technology is wonderful, and sometimes it just always hangs up every once in a while. Good afternoon, or I should say good morning to some people on the webinar. I'm Amy Smythe-Harris. I run a virtual brokerage firm in Texas, and I'm living in California and still selling in Houston. I did actually a deal last night with a client, so my business structure is a lot different, but I want to give kudos to what Candy was saying. I've been selling for 18 years, and everything that she was talking about, I just do it a little differently, a little more virtually. So she had some awesome tips, so please take those away and use those in your business, because I can't sell real estate just with technology alone. So I can sell real estate because I use technology as a tool in my business. But if I didn't know some of the basics, like Candy said, it would have been a waste of time. So speaking of time, I want to talk about some time management. I run 3 companies, so I'm always about time management, and I schedule pretty much everything aspect of my life. One of the things I learned when I was newer to the business is I would drop everything and just do whatever the buyer or seller wanted. Now I set expectations, and Candy talked about expectations. I think you need to set those expectations with sellers and buyers from the get-go, because that way there's no hurt feelings. They don't feel like maybe you're not doing your job if you set those at the beginning. So I give them parameters of how I work with my time, that I'm not just going to drop everything at the drop of the hat and show you just because you're driving around. So again, use that time in the buyer expectation meeting to set those up. For me, running 3 companies, I have to time manage everything. So one of the things I want to go over, and I'm going to give you ideas, and then I'm going to show you some of these apps hands-on. So, and some of these apply to your personal life, not just business, because I think they overlap a lot. I see a lot of real estate agents only focus on time managing their business and using CRMs and that type of stuff, but they forget about managing their personal life. I run my personal life like a business. I have 2 kids, one in Texas and one in California with me. We manage the household just like a business, and that is what they are taught. They've been taught that since they were little. So one of the first ones I use, and this is a personal tip, but I will tell you this is a wow tip that I give my clients. It's called Buy Me a Pie. So Buy Me a Pie is an online grocery list. So we all have it on our iPads and iPhones. You can create multiple lists, and the cool thing is I can create grocery lists, and it's in the cloud, so I never forget my grocery list at home. And I am old, so what would happen is I would be in the bathroom going, oh my gosh, we need shampoo. And I would run to the kitchen and go to write it down on the grocery list. Well, by the time I got to the kitchen, I would forget what I was supposed to write down. So with Buy Me a Pie, I can do it right then. My phone is always on me, and it's cloud-based, so it is hooked up with all of us. As a matter of fact, my nanny now has it on hers so that she can go to the grocery store for us as well. And Buy Me a Pie, I use it for multiple things. Like if I have a Lowe's shopping list, I was doing a home remodel on a room, so we had the stuff we had to buy. So there was different shopping lists, and again, it's all synced. So Buy Me a Pie has been my home personal life saver. Easily Do, as I'm going to show you guys on the screen later, Easily Do is like my personal virtual assistant. There's so many aspects of Easily Do, so I wrote a blog post about it on my website. But Easily Do will sync my Facebook, my Twitter, my LinkedIn, my Dropbox, my Box.net, all my calendars, and it'll say, Amy, based on this event in Facebook that you said you were going to, in traffic patterns to where you're going, you need to leave now. And it'll pop up on my screen. It'll also remind me of birthdays in my calendar or in Facebook, because I tend to forget to go check on the Facebook ones. It'll also tell me some important tweets that are happening that people I follow, so I can go and just only respond to those tweets versus getting lost with everybody's tweets. It also tells me if I have multiple contacts and do you want to merge the multiple contacts. It tells me what city I'm in, because I travel a lot speaking, what city I'm in and what the current temperature is as soon as I click on it. So it's not really, and it does more than that. It also allows me, if I have a same route that maybe you leave the office and going home all the time, I can hit a button in it, and it'll text certain people in that I've pre-set up of that I'm leaving out, and it will update them if you're stopped in traffic, all that, so you're not texting and driving. So Easily Do merges so many apps into one app. I've kind of dropped off all my other apps. That is my go-to app I look at on a day, multiple times a day. So what's going on, and it just push notifications to my phone. Calendar. This is so simple, but the calendar, I do invite attendees to my clients as well as home, and I'll show that to you guys in just a minute. So as soon as I schedule an appointment, so let's say Candy had made the comment about scheduling your buyer appointment. So as soon as I schedule the buyer appointment with them, like I'm on the phone and they said, yes, this Saturday will work at 9 o'clock. So I'm on the phone with them. In my calendar on my phone, I will schedule the appointment, and I'll do what's called invite attendee. And then it emails them, and I'll say, in just a minute, you're going to get to your phone a notification to accept or decline. And by that, I also put in the location of where we're meeting. So if you're going to meet at the office, if you're going to meet at Starbucks, in the location. So because one of the things I ask every client right now is, what type of phone do you have? Do you have an iPhone or a Droid? Because time management for me is I know how I can share information to them. So by putting the location in, all they have to do is tap on it, no matter if they have a Droid or an iPhone, and it will map for them. So I do that simple. I don't have to have them going, where are we meeting again? How do I get there? What's the directions? So I just simplify the process for them. And also when I do the calendar invite, I used to always call behind clients and say, hey, are we still on for tomorrow? Then it became texting them, hey, are we on for tomorrow? With the calendar, I have a reminder set up in there that it will remind them. So if they've accepted the invite, I will do like 15 minutes, 30 minutes, maybe an hour. It depends on how long maybe it will take them to get to the place that we're going to meet, or if it's just a seller listing presentation. So again, that kind of depends on the client I'm meeting with. Here's another one. It's called Waze. Waze is a social networking traffic app. I've actually got business off Waze. I'm working with a client right now because I've been social networking through traffic patterns through Waze. Because some of the traffic stuff won't tell you what happened. Waze will tell you, hey, this is what happened. There's a wreck. There's a rollover. Da-da-da-da-da. Get in the right-hand lane now. And it's kind of a really cool, but you're relying on social networking. Twist is another one, but I'm going to also tell you, I used to love Twist, but they just changed their application. So how I used to use it was I would send a Twist notification to a client. So it would push notification to their phone that Amy just left, Amy's 20 minutes away, Amy is stopped in traffic, Amy's 5 minutes out, and it would just push notification to their phone. And they didn't have to have the app, so it was a text message to them. So it was great because I wasn't texting and driving. They were keeping an update that I was where I was at. Now they changed it where you actually, the client has to download the Twist. So if you're going to use this as a time management tool and to stay informed with your clients, you need to let them know that they're going to need to download the app. Okay? TimeBridge is another one. And TimeBridge is not an app, but if you want to write this one down, it's called Meeting Wizard. You can use either one. Meeting Wizard has a mobile site. TimeBridge has a mobile site, but not apps. So if I have a client that's saying, I don't know when we can meet for the listing, I got to get with my husband. No, I don't have time for emails flying back and forth with us trying to negotiate when we can just meet. So I send a TimeBridge meeting notice, and I give them times I'm available to talk and meet with them. So it kind of, again, sets the expectation. It's a wow factor for them that they see I'm organized and I'm efficient and that I'm not going to waste their time. So those are TimeBridge or Meeting Wizard. So play with those, and I will tell you, once I started including that in my business practice, it's been funny because I don't have the people going, no, we can't meet. They realize I'm running a business. So, and I don't have them backing out of things. A couple more time management, and then I'll show some of these on my phone for you. Straight to voicemail allows me to bypass the phone ringing and it will go straight to their voicemail. So there's certain clients that I do actually have to talk on the phone with. Most of my client base prefers me to text them, but on this one, there's certain clients I just kind of need to reach out, or maybe the text message won't be very clear to them. So I don't want to talk to them because I don't have 20 minutes to talk to them. So I will bypass the phone ringing with straight to voicemail and leave them a voicemail, and their phone will never ring. So this is also a great tool in your personal life. If maybe there's a family member you don't want to talk to, this is a great tool. Here's the quick thing. It only works on cell phones. It does not work on landlines. So just as a Amy tip there. This is one. The next one is Send It Later or Schedule SMS. So there are two apps that will allow you to delay delivery text messages. So I used to wake up in the middle of the night going, oh my God, did I remind the client to turn utilities on? Or did they do it? I reminded them, but I forgot to follow through. Did I ever hear the answer? Well, at 2 o'clock in the morning, I don't want to text them because they may get a little upset with me. So I would type it in, either Schedule SMS or Send It Later, and say, did you turn the utilities on? And then I would schedule it to go out at an appropriate hour, like 8 a.m. But that way it was off my mind. I didn't write it on my to-do list. I actually made a task and that functioned, and then I could go back to sleep. So that is something that's really a great tool. It's also a great tool like birthdays. I have certain clients that I'll just send text messages to, but I'll just, on a Sunday, I will just set up for them to go out later that week to say happy birthday. This is my favorite SMS, which is with text messaging. It's called Appy SMS. So Appy SMS allows me to delay delivery on text messages. It allows me to create templated text messages. So let's say you're reminding your client to pick home warranties. Hey, did you set up that inspector yet? So you can create templates in it, and then you can delay delivery those text template messages. And you can also do group text messaging in there. So you can send them out to, if you have 2 buyers, 2 sellers, if you have a group of clients. So I have kind of gotten away from Schedule SMS. I'm using Appy SMS because it combines multiple applications for me. Lucy Phone is really, really cool. On Lucy Phone, it allows me, if I have to sit on the phone for a long time, knowing that I'm going to be on hold, I dial it through Lucy Phone, and what happens, it keeps me in the queue, and I can hang up and make other calls, and then Lucy Phone will ring me back and let me know if that I'm next in line. So that way I'm not sitting there waiting online, and which is not, it's a waste of my time. I'm going to talk with everything is very similar to Easily Do, so but it also brings all your appointments in, and as well as maps and your tasks. So that may be something I would look into if you want time management, either everything or where everything, it brings in your contacts as well, and notes and map, where Easily Do does not. So play with both, see what one you like. Splash ID is my app program to keep all my passwords in. And I know it sounds funny, that's a time management, but it is for me. So it allows me to put all my passwords in there. Card Munch allows me to scan somebody's business card in, and then it will be a contact in my phone. It will create a LinkedIn friend request, and then it will send them an email saying it was great to meet you at, and then I fill in the blank and send it out to them. So it's a good tool. I think we're probably getting done on time, so I'm going to just tell them 2 more things. Boomerang is an app. It's not an app. It's a application on your PC or your Mac. It's an add-on for Outlook or Gmail. So how I use Boomerang is if I send out an email to somebody and I'm like, oh my gosh, did they ever answer that email? Then I have to kind of go back through, did they answer it? Oh, I need to do a follow-up on this. Boomerang, well, I can set up on the email, the original email, a time limit. So an hour, if I don't hear from them in 2 hours, they're going to get an email. If I don't hear from them in 3 days, Boomerang will automatically send them an email on my behalf saying, you haven't answered this email, so I don't have to worry about it. So it's my follow-up system, and I set it up in place. And Reportive is on Gmail, so it allows me to see any referrals I get, their networks, their social networks, see a picture of them, what they've been talking about on Twitter, Facebook. So it allows me, without being friends with them, allows me to kind of see some of their interaction and be able to gauge with them before I meet them in person or virtually online. So, Bill, I think I'm out of time, correct?
Well, I think you were going to show the one live a little bit. I think we can go another.
Okay, so I'm
a
just
little
going to
bit.
show. Let me show Easily Do. So what I'm doing on my screen, for those of you, I'm going to show straight from my phone. This is Easily Do. Oop. And this is what it looks like. So again, another time management as this kind of pulls in. I've noticed with the iOS 7, we've been having a lot of quirks, so forgive me on those. But one app that I did not talk about is called Hootsuite, and it allows me to schedule all my social network stuff to go out. So here is Easily Do as it loads in, gives me the time, the place I'm at, temperature. It'll tell me events that I need to RSVP to through like Facebook that I haven't done. It will allow me here contact information, who I need new updated. Oh, merge contacts. You'll see all those that I need to do. 2 duplicates, view scheduled and completed. So there's a lot that this does as well, and it will tell me how much time I've saved and my preferences on those, and brings all my calendars in, as well as my Dropbox and my Evernote. So this is a really cool app. And last thing I wanted to show them is just a simple trick on the calendar. I use the Microsoft Exchange. If you're a Gmail user, you have to do this inside the Gmail app, the Google app. But I make calendar invites. So, and I do it for my personal business as well as home. So here is one. This was for my daughter's concert. You will see that I did invitees. That was my husband and my daughter to a concert. For a client, I will send them out. And that one I did as an example, but all I do is make an appointment and add the location and show so-and-so location. I either type in the location, 1300, let's say, Hollywood, and I'm just making stuff up here. And then I put the time in. I put the alert in, so 30 minutes before maybe. I do the invitees, and I would type in their email address, so I'll go ahead and type in mine, which is one of my fake ones. And then I add the event, and you'll see that it'll say invitees. So this is pretty easy, and then I want to do the date, obviously not in the past, so we'll do it tomorrow. And then it is now, then I can see when they accept it, when they don't accept it. So just an FYI, this is really a quick tip. So hopefully they got some ideas out of that. Bill?
I think that, the 2 things that I think are important with what you just did is, everybody, what we're looking at is an image of Amy actually working on her phone. So that's real time. And if you're not scheduling apps, this is with my wife. She's so busy, but she kind of refuses to use some of the technology things, like her calendar, on her iPhone. And she uses iPhone. I use Google. And if you are a Microsoft person, it works exactly the same way. It is so fast, and it puts all of the information in one location. It really is. There's so much out there, and as we continue to define some of these things, you'll start to see the webinar announcements as, today's we're going to do this one application, and we're going to go through a complete tutorial, right? So not as informative maybe, because here you're able, let's look at what you got today. This kind of is a quick summary, okay? And we're going to let everybody get going. But the buyer meeting has so many facets to it. It would be impossible for us to cover the whole topic in less than a couple hours. So we want to send you away with the knowledge that the buyer meeting is important, and we want to reinforce, because it is already, right? You've been through the experiences. So we want you to take those notes and be able to apply them practically. And when it comes time on, for mobile apps, I don't know about you, but I'll start looking for something and I'll find out that 90 minutes later, 2 hours later, I'm looking at a dozen different things. And I've wasted a lot of time. So the whole point of having an expert like Amy able to talk to you and give you these list of programs is to reduce that workload for yourself, right? Go look at Everythink. Look at Boomerang. You know specifically what they do and how they can now fit into your business and the benefit they'll provide. And you don't have to look at something else. You have a resource through your Real Office Assistant intranet service that you can now say, hey, I'm using this app, right? I have a problem with. You have an ally, okay? And that's why this is all so important. So I didn't see a whole ton of questions come through. I had, for Amy, do you find when you're working with your clients and you are, telling them, I'm going to be sending you and I want you to respond to this meeting thing so we can set up our time. You had an application. I didn't write the name down because I know we'll be publishing. You'll get the follow-up on this, guys. And a recorded version of today's webinar will be available to you. So, but you had an app that has them schedule time with you where you said, here's my available time. Just pick one of those slots. Do you find that they appreciate it or are kind of turned off by it?
Well, I think it depends on the client. Most of my clients are in business, so I tell them, and the reason why they've come to me is because I'm very efficient in what I do and I don't waste their time. So they're not put off. As a matter of fact, I have won out clients that maybe were, even though they were referred to me, I've won them out over maybe somebody else that they were talking to because I'm efficient with them. I send them, and as soon as I'm on the phone with them, I send them their TimeBridge or a calendar invite. I go into Evernote, and I send them a buyer informational packet or a listing packet about me. I give them a list of apps to download that would help during the transaction that they may find useful. So they seem to be wowed pretty quickly, and they like that I'm efficient and don't waste their time.
I think that is a summary statement. What I want to leave everybody with is in both conversations today, the point was made to control your client. Set their expectations, control their expectations, control their time with yours. They're going to appreciate it. That's what they're coming to you for, right? So let's truly wrap this up. Real Office Assistant version 5, I want to let you know that there's a personal page or an agent page now available. They're $3 a month, and you can go to our website to place an order for one if you want. What's the benefit? All the applications and information we talked about today, you can put on your own personal icon bar, okay? And it makes it that much more handy, that much more easy to remember what a huge range of tools available. It just keeps it all in front of you. For $3 a month, awfully inexpensive. Where do you get more information? Well, that did not highlight very well. That red is a poor contrast color, but if you go to www.RealOAEduCenter.com, you will see that's everything, right? And in fact, let me take a moment. We're going to do this live just real fast. Go to, this is the EDU page, right? So this is when you know you've gotten to the right spot, and you can see that we have the different categories where you can get content on additional topics, and you'll also be able to access the webinar archive. This is where the video will be posted, okay? And then you'll get a link to this page. Now, the other thing we wanted to show, and I've got to go back and look at what the link was, is this. If you would please write this down. This is the only note that you actually have to take. And this is important for us. We're a little bit over, but I personally love the content today. RealOAEduCenter.com. What do you think? .html. Please write that down. I may send you an email with that link on it, actually. I would really appreciate if you would take just a couple of minutes and do this form. it'll send to us, and it helps us improve, right? So I appreciate it very much. That is our whole thing today. We're a little over time. We ran over by about 10 minutes. I think that is all my talking. So I appreciate your time. We appreciate you being here. Please spread the word inside your office. And that's it. Everybody have a great day. We're going to go ahead and end this session, which will disconnect everybody, including the panelists. So again, everybody have a great day, and we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.